back in the podcast chair. What was the name of our podcast again, Henry? The Henry. What were we going to call it?
I was going to call it Henry's Podcast and Talk.
Henry's Podcast and Talk. All right, we're back on Henry's Podcast and Talk.
Henry's
I think I
Podcast
screwed
and
that
Talk.
up, but we're good. All right, so we're back, episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we talking about?
We're talking about, well, we did talk about Tekken 1 and 2, but I wanted to talk about the game that did change the PS2 industry, Tekken 3.
Tekken 3.
Uh-huh. And Henry's got the old version here on PS1 in-house.
Very cool case.
Yeah, let me check that out.
The case is honestly pretty cool. I mean, I really was going to be talking about Tekken 3 a lot because I've been really appreciating how the story was with this one.
Cool, tell us about it.
Well, actually, the story of after Tekken 2 with Heihachi throwing Kazuya off a volcano, probably about 15 years pass with a huge time skip of 15 years passing on, and we move on to Tekken 3. Instead of Kazuya being the main protagonist, we now see Jin Kazama, the son of Kazuya and Jun. So the whole story begins like there's this ancient being called the Ogre who is after the best fighters. Like he's trying to take their fighting energy and being able to become a lot more stronger by taking the I guess the chi, or I guess the energy inside of a pro martial artist. And it went after a lot of other people in there. I mean, the king that we saw in Tekken 1 and 2 actually died during a fight against the ogre. So then one of the church kids ended up taking the mask and mantle and was trained by Armored King, the king's rival, and was able to become, like, you know, a better king and even more better than the original one. And eventually, like, Heihachi also was part of this. Now, instead of Heihachi having like normal black hair, now he's like with the old man hair, with white hair now. And we see him eventually the whole thing about Ogre is that he did come over to Jin's place where he was in Yakushima, where his mother lives as well with the animals. Eventually his mom fights Ogre, but we don't get to see what happens, and it's left mysterious because after Jin opens his eyes, he sees an entire place burning right in front of him. And so his mom said that, but while making sure that, you know, if something bad happens to me, make sure you go visit your grandfather Heihachi. And so Jin eventually does find Heihachi, and was able to train under the Mishima fighting style by Heihachi, because he learned the Kazama fighting style from his mom, which is more of a defensive, which is more on, you know, blocking and countering, while the Mishima style is more like an aggressive one, where you're just pressuring the opponent into, you know, basically trying to make a bigger and different strategy against this aggressive fighting style.
Got you. What's the transition from 2 to 3 story?
Well, it's like I said, it's been about 15 years since the events of Tekken 2 happened.
Right.
So Jin is a lot more older in that part, because he was born like probably I think after Kazuya passed away. So
Gotcha.
He's probably like, I guess, around 15 or so, I think.
Wait, but Kazuya's not dead, right? Kazuya was defeated at the end of number 2.
Yeah, he was defeated, but
thrown into a volcano, right? Was it volcano?
We don't know. Well, we're supposed to think that he is like dead or so, because he doesn't appear in Tekken 3. And, you know, well, the whole shift to Tekken 2 to 3 was honestly pretty, you know, great, because we got to see a bunch of new fighters. A lot of people really like this brand new one, Eddie Gordo, and his Capo. Apparently, a lot of people really like, you know, the fighting style of capoeira. People got into capoeira because of Eddie's moveset. And
that was my favorite player.
So the cover of Tekken 3 is Jin.
Yeah.
That's not Kazuya on the front.
Nope.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay, this whole time I totally thought it was Kazuya on the front, but it's actually Jin. And Kazuya doesn't show up one time in the story mode of Tekken 3.
Nope, not at all.
Is he a playable character at all?
No, Kazuya is not a playable character in Tekken 3. This is probably like the only Tekken game where he's not available.
Wow.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because
Well,
it is
it's
one of the
honestly,
best
like-
games, right?
I mean, well, it's honestly a good thing because we get to see something new with the new system that they did for it. Tekken 3's whole system is a lot more faster. Like, the fighting mechanics and everything, it's much more faster paced. And they were able to make it on the PS1 properly well. Because, Tekken 3 first released out in arcades in Japan. And then it took, like, probably, I think, a year or a few months after for them to port it over to the PS1. But because the PS1 had some limitations, they had to change it up a bit and make the models and everything else a bit more different so that way the PS1 could run it. And honestly, it runs pretty well, honestly. I really do like it. Probably my favorite character to play with is, Jin, and I actually really like, his default outfit. I like the flaming pants and the red gloves that he wears, and those are pretty cool. I do also think that Eddie is a cool character to go through as well, because I really do like how they decided to go for, let's try using the Brazilian fighting style, which is capoeira, which is honestly a pretty cool, fighting style to see. I actually really like seeing Eddie's capoeira style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is in this game with this whole the devil gene,
Mm-hmm.
like do we get the devil gene in this game? Do we get devil gene in this game?
Well, before I wanted to do that, I wanted to like build up the parts of it. I wanted to like bring up like probably one thing about one of the characters, like, for Eddie. Apparently, like, Kazuya, well, when he had the Mishima Zaibatsu, he wanted to go and get one of those Brazilian rich guys a lesson, and one of his bodyguards by the name of Beck decided to attack Eddie's father and ended up killing him, and then Eddie had to go to jail for something they didn't commit. And then he was attacked by guards. Like in the Tekken 3 console opening, like we get to see, he's getting hit by security guards, and then one of the old guys who knows capoeira stops them and then teaches Eddie how to use capoeira. So once Eddie got out of prison, he enters the King of Iron Fist tournament to find answers about Kazuya and about the attack that he did. And he did find it out. Like he found Kazuya's picture and then found out that, oh, he's the one responsible for all of this. And for Devil Jin, well, in the ending part, Jin fights Ogre, but his true form, because Paul Phoenix ends up fighting Ogre, beats him, but he left afterwards. But he didn't get a chance to fight the true Ogre one, because that's Ogre's true form, and he didn't actually die. So Jin defeats True Ogre and put an end to Ogre's rampage once and for all, and avenges his mother. That's until, however, Heihachi decides to turn his back against him and makes his Tekken military force shoot down Jin. And once Jin tries to reach for his hand, Heihachi shoots him in the head, ending it off, because he doesn't like, since he knows that, oh, he's the son of Kazuya, so he was just thinking, he has the devil gene, so I have to get rid of it. I don't want the devil gene to, cause problems for this world. But eventually, it didn't help in the end, because one of his security guards got thrown into a wall, and Jin rises up with the devil gene. And once during that cutscene, he grabs Heihachi by his head and slams him into the wall, and leaving, and then grows black wings and then leaves off into the night.
Did we watch that when you beat the arcade mode that one day?
Yeah,
downstairs in the teen center.
Yeah, I really like that one, and it goes but I guess it goes to show that Heihachi just, I don't know what was on his mind. He trained Jin to learning the Mishima style of fighting style and everything else, but then afterwards, after defeating Ogre, he pretty much says that you're pretty much worthless to me now, because you're only just a family member that might turn your back against me.
So Heihachi, was his goal in defeating Ogre to absorb Ogre's power?
I think, yeah, definitely, yeah, because he tries to use Ogre's power to become a lot more stronger, so he can be able, because he yearns for just being power. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he just wants to be the absolute strongest, because he's known as, like, the King of Iron Fist.
Yeah. So is I'm wondering, like, what is Ogre's gameplay like? Is he fun to play as in the game? Like, is he a worthwhile character, or is he kind of like
I would say Ogre is like probably one of the best characters to play with in the game, as well with Jin, because those two are probably like easily the two best characters in the game.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Who's it worse? Or like that you don't like to play with?
I would say my least favorite character that I don't really like to play with would be Xiao Yu. I think it's the female Chinese girl that defeated the people inside of Heihachi's boat. Like, you know, she defeated a bunch of people on the boat during the Tekken 3 opening, and Heihachi, and you know, I mean, I don't really like the fighting style that she plays with. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do think it's at least somewhat playable, but it's not my least favorite to play. It's my least favorite to go through.
It's really.
I'm wondering. So this game, Tekken 3, we're still on the PS1.
Yeah, we're still on the PS1 generation.
Okay, awesome. Okay, crazy. We're still on PS1.
Yeah.
This is probably like the last game that they made for the PS1 until, you know, the PS2 eventually dropped, and then Bandai decided to use that technology to start making, you know, Tekken games on it. I mean,
is Tekken 4 the first PS2 game?
Well, I think so, yeah, but I would say that Tekken Tag 1 was the first one, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering, how did this game do in terms of sales in comparison to the previous Tekkens, like Tekken 1 and 2?
It's one of the highest selling Tekken games. 8.5 million copies sold worldwide, internationally on the PS1, because a lot of people really do like, you know, the instant evolution of Tekken, because people say that, you know, Tekken 3 started the whole, you know, fighting game part where they use the formula of that and then managed to make a game that is honestly pretty good to go through. A lot of people really like the game, me included, because I really do like, you know, the new shift in fighting with the games.
Got you. So that's gonna launch. What were the other two? Street Fighter on consoles, because those are already arcade games.
Yeah.
Street Fighter
and
Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after Tekken 3, that's when these start to become more popular due to Tekken 3.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that the popularity of Tekken is still going up. Like from 1 to 2, more sales, and then 3, even more sales. You know. Can you talk about the soundtrack really quick of Tekken 3?
I mean, I really do like the soundtrack of Tekken 3. I like the intro soundtrack. That was really cool. I like the digitalized rock and roll soundtrack. I do also like, my favorite song probably might be Jin's, you know, character theme song. I really like it a lot.
Nice. Should we?
Can we drop a sample of that?
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick listen to it. So we just heard a little clip of that. What did you say? You said you liked what about this tune?
I really like the rock and roll part of the song, honestly, and it's a song that plays during the stage of it, like, you know, Jin's fighting stage. It's pretty much like, you know, a fighting arena where, you know, you go over there and then the song plays. There's 2 different versions of the song, like the arcade version and the console version.
Oh, they're different. Like slightly or like drastically?
Yeah, it's slightly, because like the starting, it's with the starting part, and it builds up a bit more with like the arcade version.
Got you. Playing in a room like at arcade. That was so much fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. You said punchy too, like a kick drum punchy, or like what?
Like it gives you like that vibe of just it gives you the vibe of it being, oh, this is like a fighting. This is a song that you would hear from a fighting game, honestly.
For sure. It's almost like when we went to FDA last week.
Man.
Did they play Mortal Kombat? Or I don't know what fighting game they played.
I don't know, but
And they came out and just that track was playing the whole time. I was like, yes. Yeah, we went to FDA last week to go see the Samba group, and they brought out Taekwondo at class, and they played a fighting game track the whole time.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, we were sitting there, and I told Geraldo, I was like, we should have brought Henry.
Yeah,
he would have loved this.
You would have loved it.
It was cool,
so
man.
good.
It was really cool.
Honestly, anyone would have loved it. Honestly, it's so good.
It was
They
such
really
a fun
killing it
time
at that school.
Yeah, such a fun time. Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna ask about the graphics of Tekken 3 versus Tekken 1 and 2. Like,
I think when it
What's it
comes to
look
the
like?
when it comes to the graphics, I feel like Tekken 3 is like easily one of the out of all of them. I think Tekken 3 is like one of the greatest looking ones to see out of the PS1. I mean, I think the arcade version looks pretty good for what it is, and I do like that the models look a lot more, more like fighting game models, because the other ones, the Tekken 1 and 2 were at least decent at best, but I feel like that the game was really limited to just just this type of art style that they were going with. But I feel like that with Tekken 3 was a lot more better, because the models look a lot more easier, a lot more smoother to look at, and honestly it was a lot of fun to see, because the movement with the characters fit pretty well with the combat system. The models, I think, fit really perfectly with the whole fast-paced movement that they do with the game.
And that kind of leads to my next question about the voice actors for characters. Like, I don't remember if Tekken 3, like, I know some of these games like actually are in Japanese and there's like English subtitles, and I'm wondering, is Tekken 3 like that? Is it Japanese voices with English subtitles, or are there actual English actors?
There's not really much voices. You most likely just hear the characters like grunting or being or doing attacks like that. Yeah, because like we don't really get to see voice acting until probably Tekken 4, where they actually do some voice acting. Because most of the times it's just like the whole show not tell stuff, because most of the cutscenes, all the cutscenes that you get from the console version don't have any voice acting or anything. It's just it's just them not having no audio, which we're just seeing what's happening.
And is the voice acting in like story mode, or like in the fighting like an actual fighting mode?
Like an actual fighting mode, like you'll hear the characters like grunting and stuff like that. You'll be hearing them like just say something, and then they'll be able to, and then you're just hearing them, and then when you win or something like that, they'll probably just like say something or so. They don't really, like I said, most of the voicing doesn't really come from Tekken 3. The later games on the PS2 actually do that stuff.
Got you. I sorry. I think I wasn't clear. In Tekken 4, when they start using voice acting, is it in fighting mode, or is it just during the story mode where they're talking?
I mean, I guess the story mode. I guess.
Okay. Got you.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have any more questions about Tekken 3.
Yeah. You got anything else? Any little secrets in Tekken 3?
I mean, not really much, honestly. I think the game, for what all I just gotta say was that the game is honestly a pretty cool one. It's a good step in the right direction when it came to Tekken's fast combat system.
So Tekken 1, rating from 1 to 10. What's Tekken 1?
I would give it probably a 7. A 7, because I think the game is pretty good, and honestly, I think it's a good starting point for the series.
What about Tekken 2, 1 to 10?
I would give it probably like an 8, because I feel like that they added more to the combat system and made it a lot more smoother to play.
What about 3?
Yeah.
Honestly, might give it a straight 10 out of 10. Like,
whoa,
that game,
wow.
like the game straight up, no, because I feel like that Tekken 3 was a really good step in the right direction. The fast combat system, the new cast of characters for the new generation of the characters after 15 years of Tekken 2. I feel like that the game did pretty good. I like it. The fast-paced art style, and some of the characters are pretty, interesting to talk about.
Yeah. What's the bridge? We talked about the ending of Tekken 3 going to 4 with the wings flying away.
Yeah, Jin defeats Jin manages to get away from Heihachi and not kill him, but just get away from him by flying away from where he was, and Heihachi ends up noticing that. So that's where Tekken 4 begins.
Got you. What about tag team? You said that came before?
Tag tournament 1 and 2 are pretty much not canon to the story, because like it's just like a separate timeline.
Okay, spin-off.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Anything else? Are you good?
I'm good for this one.
You're good for this one? All right. That's an easy wrap for Tekken 3.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on Henry's podcast and talk.
Yeah. Until next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Later.